Welcome to the Small Business Show. My name is Swire from Garuda Promo. Today we have Mike Castiglione from Sandler Training. Happy Friday, Mike.
Happy Friday, Swire. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you.
Great. So our topic today is preparing for a sales call. First question for you is, as a sales professional, do you prepare for a sales call when you call people yourself?
Every single time.
Really?
Every time. I have a document that I use that I go through every time, but whether it's the first time I'm speaking to someone or it's the 10th time I'm speaking to someone, always prepare. You wouldn't jump out of a plane without checking your parachute. You shouldn't get on a call without being prepared. That's the professional thing to do. So 100% of the times you should always be doing a pre-call plan.
Well, can you walk us through some of the steps and advice that you have for preparing for a call?
Absolutely. But before we get into that, I'd like to set the stage of how to engage today. And for those who are going to be going in live, is if you have questions, Swire's got a ton of questions for me loaded up. I've got some slides to share. But shoot any of your questions in the chat. We're more than happy to answer them. And if you're listening to this as a recording, go ahead and put your comments below and we'll get back to you ASAP. But first and foremost, if you're doing a pre-call, you got to start with who are you calling? So what are the 3 things that you want to know at the end of the conversation? What are their needs? What are their desires? What are the things that you would love to know to end the call? You have to think about that before you even get on the call. Don't wing it. Don't shoot from the hip. So when you start to think of what those 3 ideas are, your job as a business professional is to generate 3 questions that you can ask during the call to start to elicit those responses. When I debrief professionals after their sales calls and they're like, Mike, I did great. It was the best call ever. Just did one this morning. I go, all right. First of all, what did you find out? What was it? What were their needs? And they were like, well, they want to do a Roth IRA. I go, all right, but what are their needs? And they go, I don't know. Okay, so you didn't accomplish. You can't tell me their 3 needs. And then number 2, can you tell me what the clear next steps are? So in your mind, before you get on a call, do you have in your head I'll use a baseball analogy. For a win, what's a single, what's a double, what's a triple, and what's a home run? Mm-hmm. So a home run might be doing business. You get a contract signed. A single might be you've got a clear next step with that person. A double might be you have a clear next step on the calendar with all the decision makers necessary. A triple might be you've got a decision meeting coming up. So have in your head what the success of the meeting could be, and then that'll help get you to that point. If you're working with a current client, a single might be you address all their needs. A home run might be you address all their needs and you build business with them. Or a triple might be you get a referral from them. So have a pre-call plan of what you want to do before you pick up for 2 perspectives. What do you want to know from them? And what would clear next steps look like? Like I said, when I debrief out, those are the 2 things I ask people. And if they can't ask me those 2 questions, it was not a great call.
So it will be different for, let's say, prospect A and prospect B. I'll have different goals, or should I always have the same goal?
Again, you asked if I always do it, and the answer is yes. Are sometimes goals similar? Of course. Of course, sometimes they're very similar. However, I still go through the routine of warming up and getting my ideas, because it's the time when I stop is the time where I'm not on my A game. And then I'm doing them a disservice by not being prepared. Okay. Because they're not getting the best version of me as a business professional. So to answer your question, yeah, you should have similar goals, but different. It might look a little bit different, and try and visualize what that process could be so that you can get to that finish line.
Great. Do you want to go to your slide real quick?
Sure. We can go to the slides, and the slides go back to where we were coming from on the previous sessions. So again, getting the most out of it is going and doing. So for those who are live, I'm always curious is, from our previous couple conversations, have you tried anything that's worked? If you're going to invest, 25, 30 minutes of listening to us talk, it shouldn't just be for strictly entertainment. Is what are you going to try? So if you want to put in the private chat something that you're trying, awesome. And ask questions to us. This obviously, Swire, I love talking to you on Friday morning, but if you're going to engage, you get the most out of it if you participate. And then obviously put in your questions of what you're struggling with. A lot of people have sent you some questions in your blog beforehand. But we're going to try. So if you want to put in the private chat something that you're getting a little feedback, all right, we're back. So I like to start with the beliefs on the pre-call plan. So I've shown this belief wheel every single time, and so I'm going to take exactly what you were just saying. Should I do a pre-call plan? I'm going to take both of them through the belief wheel. Where if I say, no, I've got this. I've been doing this for 10 years. My judgment's going to be, I'm confident. I don't need to do anything better. My actions, I'm not going to prepare as well as I can for a meeting. And the results are going to be status quo. I'm not going to be on my A game. My belief wheel should be from a proactive is, should I do a pre-call plan? And if I say yes, absolutely, my judgments are going to make me sit down and write out 2 or 3 questions. Not only am I going to expand my ability to support that current client, but I'm going to expand on the way I ask questions, improving as a professional over time, which results in stronger actions. And my results are going to be a much better sales professional, which leads to obviously more business, better qualifying processes, and being able to be more competent and confident in that call. So going back to that belief wheel that we've addressed since our very first time talking, it works on everything that we talk through. So, going into the pre-call plan, obviously I gave a good example of come up with 2 or 3 questions that you want to ask them that will end in results. But sometimes you need a little bit of kickstart in the conversation. So you might ask something about the buyer, as opposed to just saying, hey, Swire, how you doing? Happy Friday. What's going on in your world? Asking them, thanks for taking this call. What's new in your world? Thanks for taking this call. How are you impacted right now? Or maybe ask a question that directly relates to the buyer in their industry. So thinking in terms of their company, you can level up and ask, if you're talking to a leader, if you're talking to a decision maker, you might, rather than saying, how long have you been in the company? So I'm a firm believer of doing research. You should already know that before the call. With LinkedIn, you should already know those things. So be comfortable sharing that. Address the buyer in the company. So you've been in this you've been in the company for 7 years. How have you seen it shift over the last 7 years? That's a powerful question for 2 reasons. It shows that you did your research and you're competent. That's not creepy. That's competency. That means I'm going to do my research if we're working together to bring the best product and service. Number 2, it's not a lazy question. It forces your prospect to think, well, how have things shifted over this time? That's a good question. And it's going to elicit a much more powerful answer that you can use in your conversation. In the marketplace, do your research. Obviously, right now, we're having conversations around virus and are you able to work or not? So how is their marketplace impacted? Is it industry specific? So go a little bit further and start to understand, is there research being done? Are there studies being done on the industry that shows that they can't do work? Bring that into the conversation and ask a good question around, some of the people I'm talking to in your industry have really been thriving. What does your world look like?
Quick question for you, Mike. when I read, sales books and hear people talk, they say you should always ask an open-ended question. But I'll also have a lot of sales professional call me and try to solicit, their business and services. Their question are too open-ended, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, should I, like you said, do more research and ask them a specific question related to their industry? Or should I do like a more open-ended question? For example, how are you affected by working from home? Or instead of I knowing them, they are developing this platform or development, I ask them specifically around that. What would be a better approach?
So it goes back to your research. So first and foremost, what are those questions that you're going to ask them, Swire? Like, what are the big things you want to know? Where if you have too open-ended, then it's going to be tough for them to respond. Or their answer is going to be so broad, you're going to have to try and, herd cats to get back to where you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
About that research, what do you want to accomplish at the end? And can you ask a question that helps herd the cats that way? So you might ask a more specific question, like I was saying in the industry, like from my perspective, I do leadership and sales development. I might ask a question along the lines of, in this virtual transition, has your sales team been able to, cope with this virtual transition, or are they really struggling?
Mm-hmm.
So I might ask a more pointed, what I would call presumptive question that types to elicit a response around a topic that I want to talk about. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, and I think want to add this comment too. I went to your workshop 2 weeks ago, and you gave me a good pointer. Before, when I prepare for my sales call, obviously I will research who they are, and then I'll prepare all the information on my end. So when I call, when they want to talk to me, I unload all my information. So, but by going to your workshop, now I know it's they're out of asking questions. So instead of me giving them all the information, they say, okay, thank you, we'll think about it. Then I ask them questions. So then they are sharing about their specification or their requirements with me. So by going back to your beginning statement, I now learn more about what they're trying to do, and so I can serve them better.
So exactly what you're actually referring to is your 30-second pitch that we refined. A lot of sales professionals, when they're reaching out on a cold call, they're reaching out and they're saying, I'm Mike Castiglione with Sandler Training, and we do sales training, and we do reinforcement, and we're going to help you get the best prospects, and we're going to help you close. You're selling yourself, and automatically the effective filter goes up. So what you're referring to is really addressing pain points of the prospect versus trying to sell. So in reverse, it's, Swire, I've talked to a lot of industry leaders like yourself, and what I'm hearing is they're frustrated with not getting in front of enough new prospects. They're tired of their pipeline being inefficiently managed, or they're uncertain about their sales process and they don't have a way to dialogue with their team. Then so you give 3 pain points and then finish with, do any of these resonate with you?
Mm-hmm.
Finish with that call to action question, because I don't want to talk on the sales call. I want them to talk.
Right.
I want to learn, are you in need of what I'm doing? And the only way to find that out is to listen, not to talk. Because the worst thing we can do as a sales professional is say too much. And maybe they do need our service, but the way we described it didn't resonate in their brain with the problems that they're having. So what you want to do is you want to list a couple problems that you solve and then revert back to, do any of these resonate with you? Are you having any of these challenges? Does it make sense to talk about any of these? And that goes back to your research, is revising that client profile. You have to go back and understand, what are their challenges? You can't be a wind-up doll and just go and do the same thing over and over again. You have to listen to and think about who's in front of you and adjust your pain indicators based on who you're talking to.
Yeah, because a lot of time when people call me, they probably have a script. So then they ask me one question to start, and then I say, maybe this, and then you can hear and feel that they're looking at the script and they're going, word by word, or
And how
A or B or
exactly. We've all gone through it, and it sucks. No one like it's not. It's like I might as well be talking to a robot. And then you start to think, is this a robot? So then like your inner child starts to come out, and then you give like random responses, just kind of try and throw them off just to see, is this a computer or is this a real person? And at that point, you have no interest in what they're providing. Now you're playing games. Versus if they come in asking some questions of you, one of two things are going to happen, Swire. They're not going to be interested. Okay, that's fine. Move on. Or they're going to show interest, and then we need to nurture that and then get them to commit to a next steps. So going back to that pre-call plan, if I'm making cold calls, I'm not selling knives. I'm not trying to do a transactional sale. I'm trying to get on a call to understand them. So my home run or my triple is really having a solidified meeting on the calendar with the decision makers after that. It's not a deal. So I need to get enough interest that they see time, that they're willing to commit time, not money, time to me as a next step.
okay.
No. Did you want to address any of the other questions in the blog that came up?
Well, I actually, went on. I belong to a few, small business forum, and I asked people the question. I posted up on the forum, how do everyone prepare for a sales call? I didn't expect that, but there are a lot of answer. I don't think they could all be here today, but a lot of people do plan for it, and there are a few of them. It's as simple as, I pump myself up. I do push-ups. I listen to my favorite song, and then I just have a routine, because for me, when I first became a salesperson, it's really terrifying. And, my boss then just gave me a phone number and just call these people. Like, but how? But I think for me especially, I still need to warm up. So like the way that I prepare, besides having those questions and agenda, know what I need to accomplish, is I will be calling a few of the people knowing that they'll be happy to talk to me. Or sometimes I'll just call, and I might call you. I might call other people that I know they'll be welcoming. So I warm myself up before I call prospect. And I have the expectation that they're going to hang up on me. They're going to say no, and it's okay. And I think having that mindset to prepare myself will be better in my perspective.
Can I challenge you a little bit?
Yeah.
Just coming off a coaching call I had with a client just at 10 o'clock today, he had that exact mindset. My first 5 are going to be my warm-ups, right? They're kind of the bottom of the barrel. They're my coldest.
Long shots.
The first call he had was your ideal client. And if I can pull up my notes, the client said to him, we're the clients that want to be your client. That was the line that his prospect used on that line. It was so warm. It took him off guard because he was expecting either a voicemail. So I'm going to challenge everyone who's listening, is that first call you make, treat it like it's your best prospect, even if it's a low priority, because you never know when they pick up. That could be your next biggest client ever. That can be $100,000 deal waiting. That can be $1 million deal in lifetime revenue. So treat every single prospect that you're going to spend the time picking up the phone to call like they're the best prospect that you have. I would have agreed with you 100% if I hadn't had that coaching call this morning where we talked through it. And so.
Yeah, you never know. And then maybe when you call, they really in need of your service or product. So, I would see that, when you call, yeah, I need you today.
Absolutely. And on top of it is make sure you get a commitment. Hey, I'll call you next Friday is not a win in my books. If your goal is to set up a meeting, make sure that you've got a meeting established, you've got permission to send them a calendar invite, and you've got a mutual understanding that this is going to happen and how it's going to happen. Am I going to call you? Are we logging into Zoom? Am I going to go to your office? How is this meeting happening? I know when, how, and where. make sure all that's on the table, because many times sales professionals are eager to hop off the call once they get a little bit of interest.
Mhm.
They're like, I got one. And do a post-call reflection, and I had a couple slides on that, is do a post-call reflection. Did you accomplish everything you wanted to? And my 2 questions will always be, okay, let me go to that slide. What were their pains and what were the next steps? So what's the clear future decided? So number 1 and number 3 or 4, those are the most important things that you could ask yourself as a business professional. So did I discover why they would want to have a conversation with me? If the answer is no, there's a good chance you get ghosted, because it's like, why am I going to spend 15, 30 minutes with someone? I don't even know why they called me. I was just being polite.
Yeah, there are people like that. Yes, they will talk to you, but then they really have no interest of whatsoever.
Exactly. So so those are the 2 questions I would ask myself on a cold call. On a sales call, which is a little bit different because now there's more of a call to action of commitment. Do we have a viable solution? I want to add that in there, because I have to do a gut check. If I did a good job asking good critical questions, getting past surface level pain, really understanding the root of their problem, can I solve it? And if I can't, I have to be honest with the prospect and let them know I'm not the best solution for you, but I can help mitigate that process. And again, with Sandler, we have our process. And as you're going through the program, you're learning a little bit more. Do they have the time, money, and resources to commit?
Mhm.
So before I move forward and I pump my fist, I got the deal, do they have pain? Do they have the commitment available? And then how are we going to make this decision? Is that clear future in pen or pencil? Is it foggy? Maybe we'll do this. Or on Friday at 10 o'clock, I'll shoot you a calendar invite once we hang up. We'll meet for 15 minutes to discuss what's going to happen.
How far would you say, you talk about the baseball analogy, right? First base, second base, third base, and home run. Like, how should you adjust while you're in the call? Let's say, they really, for example, I'm a plumber. I called you today. You have toilet leaking right now. So I know I could hit for a home run. Should you adjust your goals while you're interacting with the prospect?
I wouldn't say you adjust your goals, but you just adjust your questions. So
Okay.
what are you focusing on? So using the plumber analogy, if you show up to the house to solve a leaky, my home run as a plumber is I'm going to replace all the pipes in the house. I'm being called over to do just a quick inspection that their pipes rattling or they got a leaky faucet. So a double might be I'm able to fix the problem excellent and get a referral. A home run is I actually asked the question, how long has this been going on?
Mhm.
Do you mind if I take a look behind this panel? And then, are you okay with me doing a quick search? Because I can fix this, but I don't know if that's really your problem. If I get permission to then look, that might be a triple. And the home run is a commitment to, wow, you've got lead pipes back here. Or I've noticed that they're so stripped down, we might have to replace some. Are you comfortable with that? I can fix this and I can leave and it'll work for the next 4 or 6 months, but you're going to have the same problem in 4 to 6 months. What do you want to do? So my home run would be knowing the maximum solution I could provide for someone, and a single might be just being able to get a next steps. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so then you're encouraging that we have a list of questions, really. Probably you want to know it by heart, and then by how they are responding, you go to the next question that might be. So, like, how many combination or questions would you say we should at least minimum have, before we even call the client?
So I have a rule of thumb in my program, and we're going to talk about this in 2 weeks with us, is 3 to 5 pain points. So I want to make sure I have 3 to 5 reasons to do business, compelling reasons to do business with someone before I move on. And I'm going to ask some presumptive questions. I'm going to ask questions to get there. Again, I have much more of a relationship sale, where if it's more transactional, just come over and fix my pipe, that's one reason.
Mhm.
I want to really increase revenue. I want 3 to 5 compelling reasons. And it might be, One reason might be I can't sleep at night because there's pipes banging. Why is that happening? I might ask some presumptive questions. Do you hear pipes at night? Or do you only, acknowledge this when you're going to brush your teeth in the morning and afternoon? So you might have some presumptive questions to better understand when they're engaging. And then you leave, so if you don't find any, then you leave them with some homework. This tonight, pay attention to it. If you're hearing X, Y, and Z, give me a call tomorrow. And then if they call you, you've got them on the hook, and then you can start to do business. And we're using the plumber analogy, but it works for every organization in every industry.
Yeah, I am thinking about the in-home service people. Now that you're saying it, I noticed that there are a few that are actually pretty good, and they ask the right question. We thought about it, and then we decided we want to do more. But if they just come in and do their work without saying anything, then that would be it.
Yeah, and if you have sales leaders, business leaders who are listening in on this call, think about your team. Think about your operators who are going out there every single day, servicing and working with your clients. They're all sales professionals. It might not say that in their name tag. They might be engineer, they might be operator. But anyone who engages with your client or prospect should have their sales antenna up. And are you promoting them to ask good questions? Because if my job is just to get in and out as fast as possible, then I'm not going to be motivated to ask a homeowner. I'm just going to go in, I'm going to put my booties on, I'm going to go right to the bathroom, I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to get to my next job.
Mm-hmm.
You're encouraging, you're having that collaborative conversation with your team. You should be doing it together. So you shouldn't just be doing it as an individual. Do it with your team. Sit down. What are the questions we're asking? You should have a weekly powwow where you do, what were the best questions that you asked this week? What were the best responses that you had this week? And have everyone go around and share. Promote that culture.
Okay. By closing, do you have any things that we can act on? I know, like, you gave me some homework and it helped me tremendously. Can we give them some easy things that they could act on, to prepare for a sales call?
Absolutely. So you don't need a fancy graphic organizer, fancy session or paper program. You take a piece of paper, take a blank piece of paper, draw a line. Draw 1, 2, 3. What are the 3 things you want to know? So 1, 2, 3, write what you want to know, write a question right under it. And as you take notes, that's super easy. And then number 2, just simply write down, what are 2 possible next steps? What would you like to see? You put it down on paper, and then your job as the sales professional is see if you can qualify them to those next steps. Because the worst thing you want, and this is what we're working on, you and I together, come next week, is you don't want them to say, let me think it over.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's a strikeout. When someone says, so someone will ask, well, is a no a strikeout, Mike? And no is good. A no is good. It's not a strikeout. A strikeout is when they tell me, let me think it over. Because inability to act is action. And if they're not telling me what they can do, if they say, let me think it over, and they really need time, do you have a clear time on the calendar Tuesday at 3:00 to talk? That would be a single versus a strikeout. Yeah, let me think it over. I'll give you a call sometime. Swing it, strike 3. So that would be my homework for everyone. A couple things that we have going on. We have another chamber event coming up on Wednesday the 6th. So Cinco de Seis, not Cinco de, or Seis de Mayo. Seis de Mayo. It's going to be a Latin heritage information. So a little bit of information, 15 minutes or so, and then we'll go back into the networking forums and problem solving. So that's Wednesday the 6th at 4:00. And then my next open session is Tuesday the 19th. So if anyone's interested in coming and checking out an open session of how to systematize your sales process, Tuesday the 19th, shoot me an email and I can shoot you the RSVP link.
Yeah, that's a good event, Mike. You know how to run the program. It's not only is a virtual mixture that you get to meet a lot of business professional. Mike will put you into small group to 3 to 4, so you can get to spend individual time with different prospects, and we rotate it. So I met a lot of good contact for the past 2 times that I've been, and I've been going to Mike's workshop, and I've been learning a lot of helpful information.
Yeah, I'm only charging him 3% on all the commissions he gets in the network.
All right, Mike. Thank you so much today. And I'll do my homework and I'll go back to it and reference to it and talk to you later.
All right, Swire. Until next
All right.
week. Have a good one.